Today, we're doing something a little different. We're not digging into an article or a research paper. Nope. Our source material today is a resume, a real-world blueprint of a professional who is absolutely at the top of their game. We're going to deconstruct it to really understand what it takes to be a guardian of our digital world. Okay, let's dive right in. We hear about cyber threats all the time, but what about the people who actually stop them? What kind of skills, what kind of experience, what way of thinking really defines a defender in today's world? That's the big question we're going to tackle, and we're going to do it by looking at a real-world example. So to answer that question, we're going to look at the career of Basim Ibrahim, all through his resume. I want you to think of this less like a job application and more like a case study. It's like a map that traces the entire path from just learning the ropes to becoming a high-level expert in the super critical field of cybersecurity. All right, first things first, let's get the big picture. Before we get into all the nitty-gritty tools and projects, what does this profile tell us just at a glance? This is the highlight reel, the executive summary of an expert. Right off the bat, you see a really solid foundation, 5 years of dedicated experience. Now, in a field that basically reinvents itself every couple of years, 5 years isn't just a number. It represents thousands of hours on the front lines, constantly adapting to new threats. It really establishes immediate credibility. So this chart breaks down that experience into 3 core pillars. You've got penetration testing. That's the offensive side. It's all about thinking like a hacker to find weaknesses. Then there's vulnerability assessment, which is proactive defense, constantly scanning for holes before they can be used against you. And finally, security solution implementation, which is the hands-on work of actually building the digital fortresses. It's a really powerful combo. So how do you even build that kind of expertise? Well, it definitely doesn't happen by accident. Let's move on and see exactly how this foundation of knowledge was forged through a mix of formal education and some really critical industry certifications. This timeline tells a really fascinating story. It all starts with a super relevant bachelor's degree in cyber forensics back in 2019. But look at this, just a year later in 2020, there's a pivot to a postgraduate diploma in AI and machine learning. That shows some serious forward thinking, recognizing super early how AI was going to completely reshape security, and that academic base is just constantly being reinforced with new certifications. Now, among all those certifications, the OSCP is a huge deal. This is not your average multiple choice test, no way. It is a grueling 24-hour hands-on exam where they basically drop you into a network and you have to successfully hack a series of machines. Earning an OSCP tells the world that you don't just know the theory, you have the proven practical skill to get it done under pressure. Oh, and this slide brilliantly illustrates the two sides of the cybersecurity coin. The resume lists both CISA Plus and Pentest Plus. So think of CISA Plus as the shield. It's all about defense, analyzing threats, and responding to attacks. Pentest Plus, on the other hand, is the sword. That's about going on offense, actively trying to break in to find the flaws before the bad guys do. Having mastery of both is what separates the good from the truly great. It means you see the entire battlefield. Okay, so knowledge is one thing, but applying it, that's everything. Let's take a look at how this foundational expertise translated into a real career, one that's marked by a super clear path of more and more responsibility over time. You can see a very clear and logical progression here. It starts with a hands-on technical consultant role, then it moves into a more strategic advisory position, then steps up into a leadership role as a cybersecurity lead. And finally, it evolves into a senior client-facing role. This just shows a consistent pattern of real professional growth. The key here is the shift in language. The focus moves from doing the technical work to leading it. This quote mentions managing VAPT. That's vulnerability assessment and penetration testing projects. Words like managed, delivery, timelines, and budgets, they signal that crucial jump from being a technical expert to being a leader who's responsible for the whole team and the project's outcome. And here, in the most recent role, we see yet another evolution. The skills are now client-facing and strategic. It's about presenting, demonstrating, persuading. This requires not just deep technical knowledge of these complex solutions, but also fantastic communication skills to explain their value and drive business decisions. Every expert has their toolkit, right? And in cybersecurity, that means a whole arsenal of specialized software. The resume lists a huge number of them. So instead of just an overwhelming list, let's organize them into categories so we can actually understand what they all do. Okay, this table makes things so much clearer. The VOP tools like Nessus and Burp Suite, that's the digital detectives kit, used to probe systems for weaknesses. Email security tools like Mimecast, they guard the company's front door because email is the #1 way attackers get in. Endpoint security like Sentinel-1 acts as a personal bodyguard for every single computer and phone. And PAM and IAM tools like BeyondTrust, that's the master key system, controlling exactly who has access to what. You have to master this entire stack. All right, now for my favorite part. A resume shows what you were paid to do, but passion projects, they show who you are and what you're genuinely curious about. This section reveals that drive to innovate that goes way beyond any job description. This is the secret sauce, right here. This is just seriously cool. And it's so much more than a software project. Building a tool to decode police frequencies and hijack FM radio broadcasts shows a deep, practical understanding of how the digital and the physical worlds connect: hardware, radio frequencies, signal tech. This is the hacker mindset in its purest form, understanding a system so deeply that you can make it do something it was never, ever designed to do. And then we have this, which just showcases incredible breadth. Remember that postgraduate diploma in AI and ML we talked about? Well, here is the proof of it being applied. Using machine learning for something as complex as gene prediction shows an ability to apply these advanced skills to totally different fields. This is the sign of a true problem solver, someone who masters a way of thinking, not just a single subject. This final project is the most ambitious of them all. I mean, this isn't a single tool, it's an entire integrated system. It combines multiple, complex AI-driven components, from facial recognition to crime prediction, into one big platform. A project of this scope shows way more than just coding skill. It shows an architectural mindset, the ability to design and build a complex system from the ground up. So, after deconstructing this entire career, what have we learned? Let's try and distill everything we've seen into a clear blueprint for what it really takes to become an expert in this field. Here it is. The path is pretty clear, right? You build a solid academic foundation. You validate your skills with tough, respected certifications. You show a clear career progression from practitioner to leader. You become a master of the essential tools. And, crucially, you never stop learning. You fuel that passion with projects that push your boundaries. This is the DNA of a modern cybersecurity professional. And all of that leaves us with one final thought. We've seen how AI is already part of the toolkit, but as it becomes even more powerful, capable of both launching and defending against attacks automatically, what does that mean for the human expert? What uniquely human skill, creativity, strategy, maybe intuition, will be the most critical for the digital guardians of tomorrow? That's something to think about.